Alrighty, welcome back everyone. It is LaughNgamez here. I'm back with another Starcraft 2 1 versus 1 bot AI cast. And we have got ourselves what should be a good one here today, as it's going to be a bit of a blast from the past, actually, as we've got a map that I haven't cast a game on in quite a while. It's Golden Aura. A map that is quite tiny, all things considered, so it should be an exciting match with these two competitors, as we've got Ketroc going to be taking on Zozo. In a PvT, both of these bots are very fun to watch. Zozo, a bit of a killer, whereas Ketroc seems to have a bit more depth in the late game, so we're going to see whether Zozo can maybe put some pressure on Ketroc, that kind of thing. For now, it does seem like we are indeed going to be going for a command center first from Ketroc, as it is saving up lots of minerals, still mining the gas, but then also going for the command center. Actually then just going for a later Rax and an eBay, which is a little bit interesting, but it's a bot game, so you never know what they're going to do. Meanwhile, Zozo just opens up with a more standard gateway expand. And yeah, ladies and gentlemen, before we get too far into this one, make sure to go ahead, click that like button if you haven't already. Leave a comment down below saying more bots if you want to see more of these bot matches. And then subscribe to the channel if you're not already subscribed, as I put up daily bot videos here on the channel. If you want to also see VODs of pro matches that I cast, I do have a link to the second channel down below. I don't regularly upload there, but Falcon and I do put the VODs for like the Soup Starcraft Global, which is some very fun pro matches. Now we have got a Marine on the way for Ketroc, going for an orbital in the main base, a factory on the way. It really just wanted to get up that early gas so it can build lots of tech as quickly as possible. Meanwhile, Zozo, though, will have a superior economy compared to its opponent with this natural base already done. A nice little touch by the bot author, just to have the probe hang out by the Nexus until it's done. Little efficiencies like that take a lot of work to program, but they can pay off. As, yeah, there's so many little things you've got to account for in these bots to get more efficiency out of them. We do have a command center finally on the way for Ketroc, the Terran bot, saving up lots of minerals and gas. I'm betting we'll see at least one or two starports, as Ketroc did say it was going for a banshee strategy. And so far, just one starport on the way. We'll probably also see a command center or a planetary fortress at the natural, as well. That's a glaring sign right there. There's a little dot on the eBay. I never noticed that before. Sometimes you'll just look at a building in StarCraft 2 and be like, wow, that looks totally different than what my mind registered it as. And yeah, let's see here. As we do have that command center on the way, double gas is already being constructed for Ketroc. This bot is very thirsty for the gas. We've got double supply depots on the way to break that little supply block there. A siege tank's on the way. A third command center is on the way for Ketroc, which is very nice to see, as that is a great way to catch back up in the economy after having a bit of a slower start. Command center on location is really nice. Now, time is going to be ticking here for Ketroc, as Zozo is going for a fleet beacon and will be building Tempest here, I believe, as that is a surefire good bet against a bot like Ketroc that does like to mech. But so far, no Tempest being constructed, just Stalkers being chrono boosted out. A Forge on the way as well, so Zozo taking its time to get up that tech, but there we go. Finally, a Tempest on the way. Ketroc is not going to have that much time to prepare for this if Zozo moves out with that first Tempest as soon as it's done. The Protoss bot probably waiting for a certain amount of Stalkers before attacking. But yeah, it is a little bit concerning here for Ketroc, as Zozo's gonna have a lot of units and some Tempest to bully Ketrock. Now, there will be 2 starports, which will be able to begin Viking production as soon as the Tempest is seen, and the Tempest are not as efficient as if they were controlled by a human, of course, because you've got to err on the side of caution with them, and it's tough to program. It's tough to program in, I guess, opportunities for your bot, because you've got to program to account for every general situation and do what kind of works the best. So bots aren't very good at recognizing things like, hey, my opponent has no anti-air, so just switch the aggressiveness to 100%. So that could be a saving grace for Ketrock. There's also potential for some good counter damage if these Cloak Banshees can find their way over to the base of Zozo, as Zozo doesn't really have anything to defend against these Banshees right now. There's 1 battery at the natural base. There is a robo on the way for detection. There's also a forge, so we could see cannons from Zozo as a response to Banshees. That Banshee is moving out across the map, so that harassment is being queued on up. And yeah, these 2 bots have been very, very respectful of each other on Golden Aura. Just a little bit of scouting from Zozo, whereas Ketrock's just been playing it safe. That's what this Planetary Fortress opening's all about, just getting to that stage safely. We've got 3 more starports on the way for Ketrock. That's going to be massively important when it comes to taking on the Tempest, seeing as how there's now double Tempest production. But there's that first Banshee coming on in. Ketrock sees the fleet beacon, sees the Tempest. The Banshee does cloak in order to keep itself alive, but look at that. Cannons on the way, an observer on the way for Zozo. So the damage should be somewhat limited here by this Banshee. Of course, it's getting good work, killing off quite a few probes still, but eventually that obs will pop out. However, now Zozo's got to deal with 2 Banshees. That's the beauty of these bots, independently controlling the Banshees, never getting tired. One of them does go down, letting us know that it killed 7 probes. These poor 2 other probes are running for their life. Unfortunately, I think their days may be numbered. Ketrock does have more Banshees on the way out. It has pivoted wholly to Viking production, though, but it won't get as much damage done this time, as there is a cannon, there is a battery. Now, it is interesting how the probes of Zozo are still fearing the Banshee, despite having the static defense to keep them safe. Zozo is moving on in, attacking this planetary, not really targeting down the tank, though, and Ketrock has produced a bunch of Vikings, 3 out presently, 5 at a time. Now, yeah, the tank's just annihilating the Stalker army of Zozo, so definitely a lack of target fire there. The Tempest are still doing some work, but it's 5 Vikings against 4 Tempest, and Tempest are not that good anymore. Like, as far as air versus air goes, so Zozo will be kiting back with those. Ketrock snipes the Observer, so the Banshees could potentially do some work, but for now, things are looking quite good for the Terran bot, as Banshees are still harassing. Zozo did go into a Phoenix production, so it can hunt down these Banshees to improve its economy and keep that safe, but I mean, the Protoss bot took a lot of damage, so much lost mining time, 13 dead probes, the 16 Stalkers died for nothing, and the sort of Tempest timing that Zozo was relying on is just gone, as Ketrock has got an answer to it. 10 Vikings, it's producing Banshees now. We do see a 4th on the way for Zozo, which is very important, as Ketrock is just spending its money as quick as it gets at making Banshees, making Vikings. For now, we've yet to see any upgrades from either side as well. No armories, no forge upgrades being researched, nothing at the cybernetics core. Zozo does produce more Tempest, and there is the potential that Stalkers will be able to zone out the Vikings and keep the Tempest safe. But Ketrock does like to snipe those observers, so then the Banshees can go to work on the ground army. We do have another Banshee going for some harassment. I don't envy this Banshee's job. However, Zozo does move out a little bit and does seem to be planning on getting aggressive. It may quickly regret this decision. Ketrock does have a 4th base on the way, so it would be nice for Zozo to get some damage done. Notably, the Vikings of Ketrock do start flying around, but there they do run into the Stalkers of Zozo. Zozo does start +1 attack on the way. It's got the Tempest covered by the Stalkers. Where are all the Banshees? Well, they're in the main base, just huddling up for now. as Zozo does move on in, trying to break this planetary. Once again, Stalkers on the ground, getting shots off on the Vikings as the Tempest kite back as well. While this is going on, a Banshee is flying around. Phoenix dispatched to deal with it, though. This is a really great bot game we've got here, as the Tempest are zoning out the Vikings. Banshees, though, doing their thing, working away on the Stalkers. The Observer is, or I believe it died, or it's either just back at home. So Zozo does have to build another one of those, but still, there is enough Tempest in the sky to deal with the Vikings. Ketrock having a tough time with the numbers here, but it does get a nice engagement as Zozo is in seemingly a retreat mode, I guess trying to hunt down these Banshees that are now moving towards its 4th Nexus. And while this is going on, Ketrock has been able to get that 4th base up, so both these bots still growing their economy. Where's those Observers? Right now, one is assigned to that Banshee. The other one, is also coming on in. So the Observer's not splitting up, and this Nexus is in trouble. The cannon is probably going to go down. The Nexus may be next, and it looks like the Nexus will indeed fall. Zozo is attempting to secure up another one, but just responding to Ketrock's Banshees a little bit too slow, as this base is also going to fall victim. It is a cancel, but yeah, great success here from Ketrock. Banshees working away, or pardon me, Tempest working away on the Banshees. There's also Phoenix diving on top of the Vikings as the Tempest get lots of shots off. Zozo's army is still more formidable than that of Ketrock's, but it is having a tough time keeping its base together. There is a probe moving on out. Is that going to go try and build at this gold base here? Meanwhile, this one probe wants to build a cannon, but it's like, oh, there's a Banshee there. I can't. I'm too scared. Now, Ketrock is going to be on the defensive once again. Zozo, despite all its work, has been unable to kill a base or anything like that, but the Tempest are very formidable at this point, just able to volley down anything Ketrock sends forward, as they do have that nice split backwards. 9 Tempest in total. There's 6 Stalkers being made at a time to reinforce. Tectonic destabilizers almost being done. Will be big as well, potentially, as that planetary may not live forever. Vikings want to engage, but they cannot, as the numbers are too high for Zozo. So while Ketrock got some good counter damage done and continues to harass, it is on the back foot a little bit presently. Tempest will have Tectonic destabilizers now, so their shots are going to be nice and orange on those buildings, and that planetary is just getting chunked away as Banshees move forward, but there is still an Observer in the mix somewhere, I believe, so... Or maybe not. Yeah, okay, there actually isn't anymore. It may have gone down. But Ketrock does indeed lose that planetary. Zozo elects to fall back towards its 4 bases for now. Regrouping, there is Blink on the way, which is going to be really nice for the Stalkers from Zozo. +1 air on the way, shields on the way as well for Zozo. A 5th base being established. The red Protoss bot is in quite a good spot presently, as I really gotta say, the Phoenix Observer combo to deal with the Banshees is really great programming, as Zozo is handling that quite effectively. We do have Ketrock trying to get up more bases, establishing this planetary. The Viking count is 14 presently. The concern, though, is there's 22 Stalkers on the ground that will be able to shoot at those Vikings, and there isn't enough Banshees to deal with them. So it is a bit of a difficult spot for Ketrock. If Zozo kind of gets up the nerves to attack on in, I think it would be able to get some more damage done. Ketrock doing some long distance mining, as Zozo does elect to move on in. SCVs have to retreat. Things are looking quite rough for the Blue Terran bot. 2-2 upgrades on the way, but they will not be done in time, I think, to help out with a potential fight. Banshees are doing what they can, but there is an Observer there, and that has yet to be sniped down by Ketrock. We'll see if it does try and snipe that Observer down. Vikings do go for a dive on top of the Tempest. What an engagement here by Ketrock, as those Vikings do actually get on top of the Tempest as they're forced to fly over a turret on their way out. What an engagement from Ketrock, just annihilating all the Tempest of Zozo, leaving the red Protoss bot with only Stalkers on the ground. There just was too many Vikings, I guess, from Ketrock. The Tempest not really programmed to handle that head-on engagement, because there is a time where you just got to fight. But now Zozo is going to have to rely on these Stalkers on the ground to get some work done. There's mass Vikings in the sky, though. Stalkers do have blink, so they can start blinking all over the place. We do have +2 attack on the way from Zozo. Meanwhile, Ketrock is now on 2-2 for these air units, as 9 Stalkers at a time are being produced. That is quite a force from Zozo, but as we see, you need detection to deal with these Banshees, and Zozo's having a hard time keeping that up, as Ketrock has killed 5 observers this game. There is 2 more observers out. Seems like Zozo just has a max of 2 observers. The Banshees are now being picked off thanks to that observer coming forward, and we'll see whether the Stalkers will be enough to get some damage done. Ketrock has recovered reasonably well from that damage, since it does have this base up. It's got this base up now too, but Zozo is going for the throat, it seems, trying to break the natural, but that's actually the worst spot to attack on in, as there is still 2 tanks set up there at the natural as Ketrock's anchor point. Zozo having lost more resources than its opponent, but not by a huge margin. I mean, Ketrock has lost a lot of SCVs to sort of skew that as well. And now Zozo still mining away on 5 bases. We've yet to see a 6 from either of these bots, but now Ketrock will attempt that. Can Zozo break this planetary? That's the question. We've got a very cool feature from Ketrock, a medivac that flies around healing up SCVs on the battlefield. It's one of the more cooler features of Ketrock. Stalkers working away on Vikings in the skies, targeting down some of the SCVs. Tempest, with their Teutonic destabilizers, do pick off one of those turrets. Still, breaking the planetary requires a lot of damage. The SCVs really are being thinned out during this, though. Ketrock isn't diving in with Vikings, as it doesn't have that many left anymore, and so the planetary does go down. Ketrock unable to get another base up. As soon as it starts building one, it loses one. Zozo, though, still just powering on 5 bases, and I'm not sure if it's programmed to take a 6th base at all. It is just spending its money as quick as it gets at building mass Stalkers. Routing the SCVs from this planetary is quite concerning, as this PF really needs a lot of repair. Tempest shooting away on it. Vikings do elect to move forward to chase the Tempest off, which is important. We've got this constant skirmish of Banshees against Stalkers. There's the scan from Ketrock to try and hunt down that observer. It will be able to kill the obs, so now the Banshees can have free reign, picking off the Stalkers, potentially saving the base as Vikings do move forward, but there's not quite enough of them. Ketrock's income has fallen a significant amount. A lot of those SCVs are not mining, they're just transferring between bases, but this base is now up, so the income should go back up for the Terran. We do have Banshees going for a counterattack from Ketrock, as this game seems to be turning around yet again, as Zozo will potentially lose a critical nexus. Did have a probe up there. I'm thinking it's probably just a scouting probe. But yeah, the Banshees do not get dealt with in time, as Zozo is hit hard and is suddenly on the defensive. Now, these bot games do have a way of swinging. The defender bot tends to do better than the aggressor. All these Banshees will go down after getting that nexus, so we'll see if Zozo can recover from that. This one Banshee doing lots of work is just shooting the nexus, so I think the probes would be much better off just mining in this situation. Phoenix trying to engage Vikings, however Ketrock's +3 armor really showing on those Vikings, as the Phoenix are doing basically no damage. Stalkers trying to hunt these down. Zozo does still have a significant army. 5 Tempest out is no joke. Stalkers moving up the ramp. There is a new observer with this army, so we'll see. Can the Tempest potentially bring down this planetary and get a strike back, as Ketrock does come in with the Vikings. The Tempest are already retreating. Vikings flying over the Stalkers means they will go down fairly quickly, and then all of a sudden the numbers change, so Ketrock elects to just retreat. The Stalkers are working away on that planetary, and it will fall. I can't believe it. Another base goes down in this game as these 2 bots just trade blow for blow. The tanks are still there, so that's very problematic for Zozo, as they will just annihilate the Stalkers. The Banshees coming on in. I'm not sure there's an observer present. There isn't, so they will just, the Stalkers will just be easy pickings for the Banshees, and that is a huge loss. Zozo really can't afford to replace at this point. Ketrock has 18 Banshees out. It's building 6 Vikings at a time. If it deals with the Tempest, Zozo will have basically nothing left. Now, Ketrock is losing SCVs on the transfer, as these Banshees do just delete some more of those Stalkers. Tempest are doing what they can, but I think eventually Ketrock will pull the trigger and try and deal with these Tempest. Zozo is now going home as Ketrock elects to attack on the other side of the map. This is really the last mining base of the Protoss. The cannon's not going to last long against these +3 Banshees, but the Tempest are coming home to try and be heroes, save the day. But there's Ketrock on the hunt with the Vikings as it does move out across the map. And yeah, this is a really, really great bot game between these two. Things do seem to be going well, better for Ketrock. I don't think it's going well for either bot in this game at this point. Even the tanks are now being brought by Ketrock, which is very cool, making this quite a serious push. There is no observer out to deal with the Banshees. Stalkers eating tank shots, and there we go. Vikings diving underneath the Tempest. Stalkers are trying to shoot them out of the sky before they kill the Tempest, but there's just so many Vikings going for the dive. A battery does keep one alive for a while. All the Vikings do get cleaned out. Only 2 Tempests survive, though. The Nexus is close to falling. Stalkers coming forward, trying to buffer. Where's the observer? There's the observer. It's finally coming forward. I think Tempest and Stalkers will deal with the tanks. And where's that OBS? There's the OBS. So the Banshees do have to end up retreating. This one Banshee, though, may kill the Nexus if Zozo doesn't change its mind on where to go, as the Banshee does eventually run out of cloak and then retreats. Zozo's mining is just a mess, though, as it's very oversaturated as these other bases pretty much completely mine out. Ketrock, though, meanwhile, has a few fresher bases. Supply-wise, things are looking very good for the Blue Terran. Now, yeah, Stalker's moving forward, but there is Banshees to deal with them once again. There is the Observer coming forward. We'll see if Ketrock drops that scan. There's the scan to try and hunt the OBS. The OBS begins retreating, but still, there's just not enough army here for Zozo. I think Ketrock may have done it. 21 minutes into the game, things are looking very good, as if this Nexus falls, that will be lights out for Zozo, as the Banshees are just too numerous. And yeah, the Nexus does go down. So I think it's just going to be a slow death here for Zozo, or maybe not, as the Vikings say enough of these Tempest and go ahead and delete them. Ladies and gentlemen, if you've enjoyed this cast and you've watched up until this point, click that like button for these two bots. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Leave a comment down below letting me know if you want to see more Zozo and Ketrock. You can say more bots, as that does help with the YouTube bot, and you guys are the best at it. You always blow it out of the water with the support. And yeah, just big thanks to everyone that does support these casts via the YouTube membership program. It goes a long way. And yeah, this is, yeah, just that slow death I was talking about. Ketrock will eventually expand, I think, or yeah, it doesn't really matter. Zozo's got no income basically at this point. So that is that. GG. I was wondering how a game on Golden Aura would go, as it's been a long time since a match was cast on it, but these two bots performed very well. The smallness of the map allowed the game to swing back and forth very, very quickly. But yeah, well done. Ketrock eventually will clean everything up. Shouldn't we be fast forwarding by now? Yes, we are. Battery overcharge to keep the Twilight Council alive. Zozo did a good job keeping its probes alive. Unfortunately, that is all Zozo has. Ketrock getting more bases up, taking the map, and that is that. GG.